there. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. It is Friday and it feels like it has been a super long week. I am getting ready to meet some friends tonight, so I thought I'd bring you along to apply my favorite cream makeup. Before I get started with the actual makeup application, I take some setting spray and I apply it mostly to the middle part. Use a little fan for this. To the middle part of my face to get it ready for the application and deal with the fact that I have a shiny T-zone, and I'm going to blend that down at the end with some setting powder as well. So for the time being, just bear with me while I apply my products. And if you can see, I have just a little bit of redness going on. So let me just bring you in a little bit closer for that. If my phone cooperates, that is. So my redness in part is, I think, just DNA. See how that just brings it down? This is actually a contour product that is a cool shade, and it helps with taking down especially redness like acne scars. In my instance, it's from the weather. I do like to be outside as much as I can, at least an hour a day to get some fresh air, and where I am pretty responsible about using sunscreen. Ultimately, you just can't avoid all of that. You see how that just evened out the redness and prepared my skin for better product application. Hold on, I was just checking something on my screen here. I'm still somewhat new to doing live, so technology and talking to you at the same time isn't always optimal for me. I'm hoping to get better at that. The same contour that I have used to bring down the redness in my skin, I'm also using it to apply not so much as lip liner, but I bring it outside of my lips to create some shadow. And the shadow, it's ever so light, but this little shadow is going to give the appearance of my lips being fuller. So it's just an ever so slight movement, very little product, and it's just to enhance the appearance of the lips, to make the lips look brighter. Now, when I was younger, I was able to, let me show you, get away with using concealers like this, and I would take my wand and I would just go like this, right? And those days are behind me. My skin no longer responds very well to that type of concealer application. So I have learned, and that's what I want to share with you, is that less is really more. And sometimes it's not so much about the concealing, but it is about making the darkness look lighter. So in that instance, I am going to use a color corrector, and I'm going opposite. If you think about the color wheel, I'm going opposite of where my dark circles are. So my dark circles pull like blue and gray and green, and by using a color corrector that is pinky peach, I'm able to take care of the darkness without layering on a ton of product. Do you see the difference? And listen, if you have friends out there that have mature skin and that might be interested in finding out how they can still look great with makeup and have colors that work for their skin tone, have them join us. What else would you be doing on a Friday afternoon? I don't know. Tell me. So I have now blended out the color corrector under my eyes. And I did that in lieu of, and you know what, I'm just looking at my skin and I really have a lot of like still shine going on here, so I'm just going to bring that down. I'm going to take a little bit of setting powder and I'm just dipping my triangle puff into the setting powder and I'm just going like this. And the reason why you see some, and I'm careful not going into under my under eyes because that would just enhance any kind of wrinkles that I have, and I don't want the powder to set into the wrinkles. So, all right, that is a little bit better, I would say. Okay, so now the real fun begins. I traditionally like to use a brush to apply my contour, but you don't have to use a brush. You can go ahead and just use your fingers and you bring the product into where you see the shade under your cheekbone. That is going to give your face two things: a slimming effect and a lifting effect. And what you see me doing is I'm just kind of like stippling the product into my skin. And the reason for that is that I want to warm up the contour. The contour consistency is a little bit more denser than some of the other products for a reason, because you want it to stay in place once you set it. But that also means it needs to warm up with your skin for it to be blendable. So if you use your fingers with the product on top of your skin, you get a really nice warm up to your contour. I'm now going to take my detail brush and I'm just going to feather it up. And the reason why you want to stay up is because you want that lifting effect to your face. And this doesn't have to be totally precise in the upward movement because we will be using bronzer, and the bronzer will help us with some glow. Do you see how this just has shaped my face and given it more of an upward lift? It's all about the illusion that it can create. I'm now taking the same brush and I'm bringing it around the perimeter of my forehead, and I'm marrying it with my hairline, and I'm staying on the outside and the upper side of my forehead. Going to recreate that on the other side. Now that I have placed my contour to give me lift and to give me shape, I am also going to use the contour on the bottom of my jawline with very little color. Less is more, less is more, less is more. I'm just looking up at the ceiling. I have a tiny little bug up there. I can't quite identify it, but I think it's good up there. Not quite sure how it came in, but it's really more important how I'm going to get it out of there, but it can wait. So after that has been placed, I am now looking for my bronzer, and I have two favorite bronzer shades that I use. And again, you use the bronzer that is perfect for your skin tone, and I will help you pick what works for you. So I have a bronzer brush, and now I'm going to blend out my bronzer. And the bronzer brush has a much different consistency than some of the other brushes. The bronzer brush is very fluffy. And I also bring it a little bit over my nose, just to give it more of like that sun-kissed look. When you just go out in the sun and the sun just kind of like does the good stuff to your face. Obviously too much sun is not good for you, but I'm also taking the bronzer, and now I'm taking the other side of the bronzer brush, and I'm bringing just a little bit of bronzer to my forehead, where the sun would normally hit my face. And I'm also doing just a tiny little bit. Everything is so subtle. You don't need a lot of product. You don't need difficult movements. It'll all come together for you. So I have now placed the contour, the bronzer, and I am now using what in the traditional world would be referred to as foundation, but we call them highlights, and the highlights are really designed to work with your different skin tones in your different parts of the face. Instead of washing your face with just one color, here you're just applying the color where it needs to be applied, where you want or need the coverage. So I have a different skin tone on the lower part of my face compared to the upper part of my face. And part of that is, I've mentioned earlier, I like to be outside, get some fresh air. So even like from sitting in the car and driving for all these years, this is where typically the sun would hit my face, unless down here. So with this product, I use the color that's appropriate for those areas. And again, I'm only placing the highlight color where I have not touched my skin with the bronzer or the contour. Right now I'm still wiping and placing at the same time. And I will all blend it out. So we talked about concealer earlier, but I'm only placing the concealer where I want to highlight certain parts of my face. And the parts that I don't want highlighted, I'm staying away from those. I have some frown lines in here, so I'm not placing any brightener there because they would just be emphasized, and I don't need to do that. And I just realized as I was doing my nose that I forgot to place some contour on the side of my nose, and I'm going to blend that out too. It's going to give my nose a little bit of a slimming effect. Okay, so now that the placement has been finished, I am now going to go ahead and I am blending, but I will omit the placement of the blush because I want to come back to that and put that on at the very end. Hi, Iris. Hi, Marco. Thanks for joining. So I am using the narrow side of my bronzer brush, and I am taking my setting spray. I'm just doing 2 spritzes and then just making sure that it's not overly wet. And I'm going to go ahead and start the blending process, and I will blend the light eye areas first. So basically the reverse order from the placement. Thanks for joining on a Friday afternoon. And I'm really just marrying the product lines together so it gives it a cohesive look. See if I can come in a little bit more to show you. Is it that close up? Oh, but you can see here how I brought the contour together with the bronzer, and here's my contour, and again I married it with the bronzer as well. So you still see the 2 different shades, but you don't see that distinctive line. I said earlier that I do like to save my blush for the end, and I think I want to do just something very simple, so I'm going to go with nude, and if nude turns out to be too boring, might put some illuminator on, but let's see what happens. So I'm using the brush, and I am just placing it ever so gently on the areas where I want to see my blush. Okay. I think I'm good here with what I'm trying to get done. So I will go ahead and I will use some setting powder to put the product in place. And then after that, I'll come back and maybe put some illuminator on my blush. So I'm just coming in with setting powder. And I only use the setting powder in my T-zone area because that's where I have some little oiliness going on. If you have super dry skin, you don't need setting powder. This is really just for me to not look at all that shininess. Where I'm keeping it though is my Cupid's bow. I do want to keep my highlight, and now that the setting powder has set in, I think I am going to use some illuminator. Hi, I just saw somebody else join. Hi, welcome. There's a couple different illuminators that I like, and an illuminator is if you can see it on my finger, it's a shiny product. It comes in different shades, and again, just like the rest of these products, they're customized to your skin tone, and you see how it's giving me just a little bit of a shimmer. So if you've been around into 1970s, where there were discos, that is not what I'm trying to recreate. I'm not looking to looking like a disco ball. I just want to have some different shading on my face, emphasize the areas that I like, de-emphasize the areas that I don't, and I'm also just going to come down here and give a little bit of my Cupid's bow. So I'm going over the powder with some more setting spray, and if you've been here since the beginning, you know I like to use these little fans that help dry the setting spray on my face. So there you have it. I talked, that's why it took me so long, but generally speaking this takes me about 7 minutes to put on. And let me show you the palette that I'm working from. I keep all my colors in here, but you traditionally just need 5 tints, and I will help you choose them to make sure that you get the results that you're looking for. So thanks for joining.